Hi, I'm Cameron, and I don't just read comics, sometimes I watch them. On today's episode of Cameron Reads Comics, my friend Jach and I are talking about the longly anticipated Wonder Woman 1984. This DC Comics film was directed by Patty Jenkins, and the screenplay was written by Patty Jenkins and Geoff Johns. This episode was recorded via Zoom, so the sound quality isn't going to be super amazing. As always, there are going to be full spoilers for Wonder Woman 1984, so consider yourself warned. And remember to go check us out on YouTube and Instagram at Cameron Reads Comics, as well as clobbering the like button or leaving us a rating and review on iTunes. Now, here is your episode on Wonder Woman 1984. Hello, Jach, and welcome back to Cameron Reads Comics.
Thanks for having me. I'm
How you
stoked to
doing,
be here.
fella?
What's up?
How you doing, fella?
I'm doing good. Yeah,
Jach,
I'm
this
chilling.
is round 3 for us.
This is round 3, and it's probably going to be the worst round ever because everybody knows the third movie in the trilogy is always the worst.
Oh my god! You know, we're gonna decide that for ourselves today.
Dude, remember? Wait, did you see X-Men Apocalypse?
Yes.
Yeah, and they make the joke about Return of the Jedi, that's the worst one in the trilogy, and they're like, "Oh, the third movie is always the worst one in the trilogy."
Yeah, but
And it's like, welcome, you're in the worst movie of the trilogy right now.
You're right.
This
And
is pre-Dark Phoenix.
what I was even thinking too, that when they said that, I was thinking that they're also bringing up X3 because that movie sucked ass.
Yeah, they were. I feel like they were just like poking fun at that, but
They
they
just-
kind of owned themselves because like that movie was also bad. So
I forget that that's the third in that trilogy.
yeah,
Because I don't know. Those first two, X-Men First Class is my favorite X-Men.
it's so good. I don't know why they did like the decade gap in between every movie. It's
Yeah.
like when you have like these 20-year-old actors supposed to be like in their 40s. It's like, I don't believe this.
Yeah, and especially too, I don't know, Ty Sheridan as. I feel like we're so spoiled with his Cyclops, but man,
I feel like he's underused.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he's amazing.
He is good.
He's he's the next big thing, and I'm.
Yeah.
You know who's actually really coming up? Who's actually had a stellar 2020? Anya Taylor-Joy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm just like, but everyone's like so. I feel like everyone's so caught off guard by how good Queen's Gambit is. But I'm like,
She's been crushing it for a while now.
I'm like, have you seen Thoroughbreds? Like,
I actually haven't seen Thoroughbreds.
oh man, oh well, hey,
I meant to watch it.
That was
She's
the one
great in Split though.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
See, Split's good.
See, but I'm just like, she's the kind of actress now where I'm like, anything she puts her name on, I'm like there for.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, anyways, actually, I want to do a quick plug. I do this sometimes for my podcast episodes. Do you have HBO Max?
Yeah.
You know what I've been watching? I just got it because obviously for this episode.
Yeah.
But also just because if I have Marvel Unlimited and Disney Plus, I should have HBO Max because I'm primarily DC anyways.
Of course.
And DC Universe is really letting me down because they are getting rid of all the television content that was exclusive to that platform, which is annoying, but it makes sense when Warner Brothers is a thing. And
they're trying to kill DC Universe. If not, they can't try to kill it as a streaming service.
Yeah, it's just comics. It's going to be comics exclusive, which it's annoying because it was very cheap for comics and TV, and now I get just comics. For, more or whatever. But
it's not a good deal anymore.
I'd pay for 2 platforms for the same thing.
I canceled my subscription like 6 months ago, but I re-got it a few days, like last week, because I wanted to watch some Justice League cartoons.
Oh, those are so good. Oh man, like if anyone wants to hear my hottest take, Justice League, DC Animated Universe, greater than Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm like, they did it first.
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
dude, Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, dude.
I'm actually reading right now. It's a Paul Dini omnibus. It's like pretty much he wrote the TV show, but then he wrote Batman for an extended period. And it is pretty much like a continuation of the animated series, and it's so good.
Dude, he's my friend's neighbor.
Oh my gosh.
He just like was walking his dog one day and he saw Paul Dini just like getting his mail. He's like, what?
Of all people in the
and
I would die.
He lives in like a regular neighborhood too, in like Burbank.
Yeah.
It's not like a fancy house, but he has like, he looked in his house one time and he has like crazy amounts of DC stuff in there.
No, for sure. That guy
like,
is the guy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, going back to, I think I'm going to finish this point and then we can actually get into what this episode's about.
Told you, the third one's the worst one, dude.
I was telling Jack before this for my audience, I'm sorry I didn't have enough time to write all my notes, but here we are.
Well, I didn't write any notes, if it helps. So
I was like, we're just going to go for it because this movie speaks for itself. But HBO Max, I've been watching The Sopranos. And for anyone who needs a show to watch, I am just, I started watching it last year and I just kind of never finished. But now I'm like, I have HBO Max, like I can watch it, stream it, whatever. It is so freaking good.
Oh, yeah. I feel like it's like a rite of passage for everyone to go through The Sopranos at least one time in their life.
I'm like, well, it's funny too, because I know how it ends, and it's just, that ending is just as controversial as Game of Thrones among that fan community. And so so I'm just like, oh man, it just, I think everyone was surprised by Game of Thrones not having super solid of an ending, but I'm like, that's pretty consistent with HBO's biggest properties right now.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Okay, so Jack, I guess Wonder Woman 1984, for context, before we get into the rest of the movie, how did you feel about the first film? Like, what was your opinion of the first one, and then like shaping your perspective going into the second one?
Yeah, I think I mostly liked the first movie. Yeah. I feel like the third act was kind of a bummer. It's kind of like that just classic, like, you know, CGI villain, has like vague motivations and wants to destroy the world kind of person. It's like, I've seen that like 5 million times. But the movie all before that like really worked for me. And I feel like Gal Gadot as Diana Prince was like perfect. And I was kind of like skeptical before that movie. I was like, oh, I don't really know if she's like the right fit. I liked what we saw in Batman v Superman, but it was like barely anything. So
yeah, it was kind of like she was like pigeonholed, like shoehorned into the movie.
Yeah, it was like a trailer for her as a person. So I was like, I don't really know what to think about this. But I really liked it. I thought her and Steve Trevor were great together. And everything, like, and the third act didn't like ruin the movie for me, but like everything until then was great. And that part was like, it was fine.
Yeah, no, I think I feel the same way. In fact, when it comes to DC movies, I think that was the first time where they kind of post Batman v Superman, although it was on the same slate, you know what I mean? They realized that was the one, there was a lot of pressure on that movie to perform because Batman v Superman did not please audiences as much as they anticipated.
Yeah.
And then that put a lot of pressure on Justice League. And so that one coming out was like, okay, who's this? You know, because standard fans really, like, they don't know who Wonder Woman is. She's probably, I wouldn't, unfortunately, if we're going top 10, I'd put her at like the bottom, like 7 to 10 range of popular characters.
Yeah.
Well, I think, you know, she is top 5. I think there's pressure on this movie to be something, an introduced character, but Patty Jenkins nailed it. Like, it made her, it just really revealed who she is as like the core, you know, of Wonder Woman, and it made you love her. And then when it comes to DC, just think about the other movies that came out, solo hero movies. I think those have been really successful. Like, Man of Steel wasn't terrible. Like, it wasn't bad.
I liked Man of Steel.
It was fine. You know, I'd give it whatever 7 out of 10. And then I'd go watch Shazam was really good. Aquaman was really good.
Yeah.
I think Wonder Woman was like top tier. Like, I'd put that Wonder Woman #1 in my top 3 of DC Universe movies.
Yeah. I think at the time I put it much higher because there wasn't really anything good at the time. I mean, like, going back to Batman v Superman, if I watch the Ultimate Cut or whatever, like, I like it more.
Yeah.
But, you know, at that point, like, they really needed a good movie. So that being said, like, I liked it. I liked it a lot at the time. I think it's gone down on my list a little bit as far as, like, I think I like Shazam a little bit more.
Yeah, I love
a lot of fun. Yeah, and Shazam was just like, it knew what it wanted to do, and it did that.
And it was so like exclusive to itself, which I think was, you know, that if you even want to call that a cameo of Superman in it.
Yeah.
It was just
they couldn't get Henry Cavill for it, so they got the Black Cavill.
But for me, it's like, frankly, that in that movie answered that Henry Cavill technically is still Superman in the universe. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So I think right now he's actually working on another contract thing with Warner Brothers to like cameo in other movies. So like probably like Black Adam, maybe like Aquaman, something like that. So like he's still Superman like at this point, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't think anyone.
Yeah. And I think he just loves being Superman. So I think he just wants
He
to be
literally is just looks just like Superman, like in every way.
He is Superman.
But okay, so that's how you felt about Wonder Woman, and then I guess before we even get into this movie, how did you feel about HBO Max release as opposed to standard in theater? Do you think it shaped your opinion at all?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, I prefer to watch it in a theater, but that is not available to us. But like, TV setups are getting better and better. Like TVs are getting bigger and bigger. Like everybody's kind of upgrading their home watching experience during COVID. I feel like I know I have. So watching at home was not like a huge. It didn't. I don't think it changed my opinion very much. On like how I engage with the movie. There's probably like CGI things that I would have forgiven more if I had seen them in a theater. But when I'm watching at home, I can kind of pick out things like that a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I especially for like I would have paid to go see this movie, but like going forward, if there's more releases like this on HBO Max, which there will be for 2021.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm going to be watching a lot more movies than I would have if I'd only got to go to the theater to see them, because I would not have seen all those movies. So
yeah,
I'm a fan of that.
Oh, really? I don't think.
I mean, like the movies like Monster Hunters, something like that, or Godzilla vs. King Kong that I would not pay $16 to go see. Like I'm excited about that kind of stuff. Now, if it's like a Dune or something like that, like I'd much rather see that in the theater.
A Denny Villeneuve, you need to go see this.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure like by the time that it comes out, like it'll be available in theaters too. But yeah, I don't know. I think as long as like when theaters open up, like we still have the option to go to theaters to see these kind of movies, like which I know we will. And I think that that'll be good for me.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm sorry, I'm moving stuff around because I'm gonna write down some stuff. But I think that number one, it was. I don't think I liked it more because frankly, I'm a distracted viewer.
Yeah.
But it saved me money because usually for superhero movies, all the ones that I see twice.
Yeah, same.
Like so I watched this twice. This so I could get like a full fleshed out opinion, like. Because frankly, watching it at home, there are things I missed, and I'm glad I gave it the second time because it kind of shaped my perspective a little more in good ways and bad ways. So, I don't think I liked the HBO Max. Like something like Robert Pattinson's Batman. I don't want to see that.
No. I think that's why they pushed it back a whole other year.
I'm like,
a long time before that comes out now.
I know. I'm just like, I really want to see that in the theater.
Yeah.
And they call these movies tentpoles, and I think that I would have liked. I would have liked it more if I saw it in the theater, but like I just don't. Also, this movie was its own beast in particular, so I'm kind of glad. Frankly, we got it out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of prefer, like, I totally see what you're saying. I think I prefer this to, like, what Disney and Marvel are doing, like, with Black Widow, per se.
Yeah,
like, that movie feels so old now, and I feel like I just don't even care about it as much anymore, especially with Falcon and Winter Soldier coming out and WandaVision coming out. Yeah. Like, all these things that were supposed to be happening, like, later in the continuity after this is supposed to come out, like, I'm starting to lose interest in that film, and I would much rather just see it so I can like experience it and go into like all the new stuff that's coming out with that film in mind. Especially with like Falcon. I mean, I don't want to get too much of a tangent, but like Falcon and Winter Soldier is kind of going to be doing like the Weapons Plus program stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks like there was going to be like that kind of setup in the Black Widow movie. And so, I wish they would just put it out and like kind of just give that to the people. But I understand also like waiting to just get as much return as possible on your investment. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm also like, guys, I feel like Disney Plus had a rough go when they tried to do what they did with Mulan.
Yeah, that was
They
horrible.
learned, they were the first ones to
Yeah,
try it, and I don't
yeah,
think it went as well as they hoped it would
yeah,
have.
yeah. Well, it
And
sounds
now,
like HBO Max got exactly what they wanted with Wonder Woman.
yeah, and they're lucky too because they're the new kid on the block for streaming
Yeah,
services. Like, I realized HBO Max, or at least maybe this is just me, I don't know how it works. HBO Max doesn't have at the time of this recording at least, there's no, I have a Fire Stick. It's not on Fire Stick. I'm like, what?
no, it's not on Fire Stick. It's not on like some TVs. Yeah,
So I'm like, I AirPlay it, which is fine, but I'm like,
yeah.
what the heck? It's the same thing when DC Universe like started. They had some
DC Universe
bugs.
is even worse, dude.
Oh, that was such a rough launch. Like,
Yeah,
and
I
I'm like,
still can't get DC Universe on most stuff.
what?
I still can't even get DC Universe on a lot of
Oh,
stuff.
really? Oh, I have it on
Yeah,
everything I want it on. That's so funny.
I just do AirPlay for my phone.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
oh bless your soul. I have an iPad. That's
Yeah.
that's really why I have DC Universe in the first place, because I have an iPad. I'm like, I wanted the iPad for digital comics. Really, that's it.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, so Jack, what was your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984?
Yeah, so I only watched it once. So take that into consideration.
That's okay. I'm like, you watched it the allotted amount of times you need, especially because
Yeah.
at the time of this recording, it came out 5 days ago. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wasn't really eager to watch it again.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, I don't know. I think I like the first one better.
Oh, for sure.
I understand everything that Patty Jenkins was doing in this one. I just don't think it worked for me very much.
Mm-hmm.
I see again. Like I think all the characters are great. Like I love Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I love Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. I love Kristen Wiig as Cheetah.
Yeah.
I think Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord was great.
Yeah.
Like I like that version of of the character. Just yeah, I don't know. It didn't really come together for me, and it felt like so. Like I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get. I'll let you give your thoughts before I get into my.
We'll
My
get into
problems. Yeah.
go in. Okay. Honestly, yeah, I think it for a movie that, frankly, like I would have given the last one, frankly, like 9.5. Like the third act wasn't great, but like I don't think it was awful. For the first one.
Yeah.
And then this one, the premier Wonder Woman villain that I want in my films is Cheetah. I think Cheetah is her best villain. And
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig wasn't. I tilted my head at the choice that I'm like, like really, that's who we're going for.
She's a good actor.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
she didn't do anything wrong. Frankly, like I'm
Yeah.
like, she's a good character, and like it wasn't crazy. Like, it wasn't crazy bad or anything. But I was just like, really, that's.
Yeah.
I just think that they had a lot for this movie. Really, this movie had a lot of pieces, but they didn't really quite pander out.
Yeah.
I think that Pedro Pascal. Like I finished The Mandalorian and have seen it. Like I know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And then with Cheetah, I'm like, Maxwell Lord too, in the lineage of like Wonder Woman, is a great villain. Like he's actually he's like one of the first people in the comics like she ever killed. And I was like, dang, because he was super messed up. And I just thought that like he felt very two-dimensional.
Yeah.
And the armor that she got, I think the armor of Asteria, I was like, that could be really cool. They kind of didn't give me much more than they're like, this is cool, and she's gonna wear it now, and that was it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
And then the Steve Trevor stuff was kind of weird. I'm like,
yeah.
We didn't need him. I don't know.
So this movie felt like I feel like it was better than this movie. Like this movie, like Wonder Woman was better than this movie, but I feel like it gave me Amazing Spider-Man 2 vibes. Just like in how things came together. Like there's a lot of good bits in both those movies that I like a lot. Like, this moment, I like this, or this idea, I like this, but you're putting like 100 things into this movie and they do not all go together. It's like,
I think you're right.
Yeah, it's like in Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's like have him fight Electro or have him fight Green Goblin. Like, stop trying to shove 100 different plot lines into this movie or villain. It's like with Cheetah. It's like I was really interested in a lot of stuff, but we never really got enough time with Cheetah and or Maxwell Lord. It's like they should have just picked one villain and kind of focused on that. It's like I think at the moment it's like we're with Barbara Minerva for a lot of the movie. and then we switch over to Maxwell Lord, and then like she just becomes Cheetah, like
And
off
it's like
screen.
she becomes Cheetah for freaking 10 minutes. I'm
She's
like,
off screen, becomes Cheetah, and then she's not Cheetah anymore, like right away.
and I'm like, because that let me down too. So I'm like, okay, if you didn't kill her, then at least she never renounced her wish. Keep her as Cheetah. Like I want her in another
Yeah,
property. You know what I mean? And maybe
yeah,
there's room for her to kind of have the original Cheetah origin where she experiments on herself and whatever. But
yeah,
I'm like, oh, like I just really wanted a lot more Cheetah, and we kind of just got Kristen Wiig, which I don't fault Kristen Wiig for.
yeah,
Like she
yeah.
was fine with what she was given. And I think one of the biggest things I realized that was missing, and maybe this is me reading too much into it, in the first movie, they had another guy on the script because there's three people: Patty Jenkins, Geoff Johns, and Alan Heinberg.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like did a great job, like one, but they didn't have Alan Heinberg on this movie. And I'm like, maybe that changed something
Yeah,
because I wanted to
yeah,
like it more than I did.
yeah. And again, it's like I like all the character stuff. Like there wasn't a lot of action in it, which is like whatever. Like I mean, like I wish there was a little bit more action, but it didn't bother me that much when I was watching it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I really wish they did more with Cheetah. And if you're gonna do Maxwell Lord, just like do Maxwell Lord, because I like. And again, I didn't dislike anything that was happening like with the characters. Everything just felt when things were actually started happening, it felt really rushed and just like out of nowhere. And I'm like, man, I wish you would just focus on either Cheetah or focus on Maxwell Lord, and kind of fully flesh that out, not just have it be really vague and very quick. Yeah,
Yeah. I was like, let's just go into breaking down character by character
yeah.
because I feel like there weren't too many characters in this movie.
No, it was very dry.
Yeah, it was dry. It
Yeah.
was dry for this. I don't know. We didn't have too many characters, and then so I'm like, we got to spend more time with them, but I feel like it kind of didn't go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, Diana, how did you feel about her representation in this film as opposed to I don't know the first one, or just in context to us knowing what we know about her now?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Patty Jenkins version of Diana. I feel like it feels like a completely different character than the Wonder Woman we've seen in Batman v Superman and Justice League.
In a good way,
Like
I think in a
in a
fresh
good
way.
in a good way, yeah, in a good way. But it feels like there's no continuity between these
Yeah.
movies as far as like her character goes. Because are we supposed to believe that she goes from this hopeful character gone through this like huge journey back to like turning her back on humanity again for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
and then not flying anymore? I just don't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't see it at all. And it's like, and I'm glad. I mean, and that's kind of the nature of it. Like Patty Jenkins didn't do the Zack Snyder movies, and he had his own vision for Wonder Woman, and it's like that happens. But it's like I wish there had been somebody bigger that was like, okay, this is kind of where the character's gonna go, and we need to make this consistent across these movies. Kind of like a Kevin Feige at Marvel.
Yeah, and I guess right now there's turmoil with the guy who's leading DC. I don't know if you saw Ray Fisher just shared an article about Walter Hamada.
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, well, because then before him, it was this guy, Kevin Fujihara,
Mm-hmm.
and people did not like Kevin Fujihara, and I don't think I was a fan either.
Yeah.
But now it's like, can we get anyone who just.
Well, it shows how hard it is to have somebody like a Kevin Feige. They tried to get Geoff Johns to do it for a while too, and he didn't work out either.
Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah.
right now Geoff Johns is in a lot of turmoil too at DC, and just he's doing. It's the biggest surprising thing in the world is that he has his own image book that's going to come out, and I'm like, what? What is like Mr. DC? It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy to me. But anyways. Yeah, I thought Wonder Woman's portrayal was different. It was a little. I think you're right with there was differences in continuity and like consistency of the character. But also, I think that stems from a place where Patty Jenkins understands Diana more than Zack Snyder does.
For sure.
Because, and I don't want to get heat for this. I respect the guy. I think Watchmen is an amazing film, actually, and I might be one of the only people that thinks that. I just don't think Zack Snyder is the right person to helm the DC universe.
No.
Like,
Absolutely not.
and I don't want to be mean, but I'm like, I don't think he understands Wonder Woman. I'm like, I'm all
Yeah.
for. I'm gonna watch the Snyder Cut. I'm excited for the Snyder Cut,
Yeah. Same.
but like, I just don't think he is the right guy to helm that because from what I've
Yeah.
seen, I don't think he understands Superman, and I don't think he understands Batman. And
Yeah.
I'm like, Batman does have humanity, like I promise, and
Yeah.
Superman. I'm like, Superman isn't a god. Like that's never what he wanted to be, and I get that
Mm.
you're kind of. I'm like, he doesn't understand Lex Luthor. We all know now. I'm just like,
Obviously, no. Yeah.
and I'm like, Superman is wholesome. Like Jeff Johns has said it best, and I think that's it. He's like, Superman is just a guy who's doing the best with what he's got,
Yeah.
trying to do the best he can with what he has. Everyone can relate to that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
he's leaning into the part of Superman we don't relate to, and
Mm.
I'm just like, I can't hang. I can't hang with that. And then Batman's just freaking grumpy dude over here.
Yeah.
But so
Killing dudes like that's no problem.
going back to Patty Jenkins's like perspective on Diana, I think she understands, and she, especially that when we saw in the first movie, I was like, oh yeah, that's her. You know, I
Yeah.
want people to love this character because it's, frankly, I'd argue the most important female in comics. Like,
Yeah.
and then it just, this movie kind of was like, what? And then she was, it hurts me that she was pining for Steve for so long.
Yeah. The Steve thing. So, like, I like. I mean, okay. So
We'll just
there's
go
like two sides of it for me. Like, I like to see that she's vulnerable and she like feels her feelings and like it's not like, oh, like I'm Wonder Woman, so I can't like deal with that kind of stuff. Like I like that that's happening and we're still seeing that. She's still kind of that's still motivating her and like driving her and like all like, even after all this time. And it was cool seeing him back. Like I'm glad to see him back. I
Chris
just
Pine,
wish
amazing.
amazing. He's so great, and he like completely like changed the film once he came back.
Yeah.
And like it just made it better. And I think they're so good together. Like their chemistry and all that is so good together. But you know, I feel like they should have either made him more integral to the story or like not even used him because like when she has to rescind her wish and all that stuff, like it happens at just like in such an anticlimactic way.
And we don't even see him like disappear or something.
Yeah, and it's such a nothing moment in the film. It's like and then she has all her powers back and she gets the armor for some reason, even though she has all her powers back, and then she goes and fights Cheetah. Like so I was under the impression with the trailer is that she was wearing the armor because she was still depowered. And that
I didn't even
Steve
know
was
she
still
had
around.
powers.
Yeah, so I knew she was losing some of her powers. And that's why I thought she was wearing the armor because she's like, oh, she can't let go of Steve, and she's trying to have it all, and this armor is the only way she's able to fight Cheetah, so she can try to figure things out. And at some point during the final fight, she's gonna have to rescind her wish and give up Steve so she can get her powers back and fight Cheetah. I felt like that would have been much more climactic and much more of a huge moment rather than her just saying goodbye like 10 minutes before the fight with Cheetah and her just flying with the armor for some reason because it looks cool.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. It also was incredibly unclear to me where the final battle was taking place because I'm like,
oh yeah,
why does she have to fly there? Why does she have to fly back? How did Pedro Pascal get to his son so fast? Like, I don't know. Like,
yeah.
Okay, then let's honestly with your Steve Trevor stuff. I totally agree. I think that Chris Pine's a great. I just feel like with either the beats have to stick or they can't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like don't commit to that. Like with the Steve Trevor stuff. I'm like, frankly, you didn't have to kill him in the last movie. Yes, but you could have killed one of the other men. You know what I mean? And like there's several like accidental deaths that really could have hurt Diana more than like Ludendorff's death. I mean, I feel like that should have hurt her a lot more in the first one. So I'm like, you didn't have to kill him if you're just going to bring him back. It kind of really takes away the stakes of the first film. Just to bring him back in kind of a nonchalant way.
Yeah.
And so, but I think you're right. I think Chris Pine and himself being there was great, and it was nice to have him on the adventure.
Yeah.
Although I just wish he also wasn't in the body of someone else.
Yeah, it's so weird. And I feel like Wonder Woman would have a problem with that. Like, I feel like she would not be cool with her, like, with Steve Trevor taking over this guy's entire life.
Yeah,
Like,
that was
does this
weird.
guy have a girlfriend? Like, what if she sees him with Diana
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's like, I have no idea who you are.
Yeah, yeah, that was just weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, literally, he could have just rematerialized, and it would
That's
have
what I
made
thought it was going to
just
be.
as much like sense. Um, Especially if nukes are able to materialize out of nowhere. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, how do you? Okay, so how do you feel about Cheetah?
Yeah, I mean, the brief moment she was Cheetah, I thought it was fine. Yeah. I liked her. I liked Barbara Minerva in the film, and like I felt like she was a good foil. Um, I wish they had just spent more time with that and just spent time on that.
Yeah,
Um, or it's like they couldn't find a way to make the stakes big enough with just Cheetah, so they had to bring in Maxwell Lord to kind of, create this problem that's going to end the world. It's like, but I wish they would have just written the movie to focus on just Wonder Woman and Cheetah and have it been about that conflict. Or just about Maxwell Lord and that conflict.
yeah.
Um, it's like so. But I feel like Kristen Wiig did a great job, and I'd love to see her come back as Cheetah, like actual Cheetah.
That door is still open,
Yeah,
so
oh, I'm sure it is.
I don't know. I don't. You know, what makes me so sad is I don't know if this is ever going to happen. But the one thing about the Justice League movie that I loved was the post-credit scene where we kind of got the Injustice Society, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not a thing at Marvel. So I'm like, that's
Yeah,
an exclusive DC property that could have been so cool to see if we still have Ben Affleck, because I think they're going to make. I think we're going to have two simultaneous Batmans at the same time. You know what I mean?
yeah. I feel like we'll have Ben because he's come back for the Flash movie.
Yeah, it's
Supposedly it's his last movie, but I don't know. I feel like there's the door is still open there for him to do something as Ben.
yeah, and I didn't mind his Batman wasn't perfect, but like I didn't
Oh,
mind.
I love his Batman. I'm totally. I mean, you just retcon the killing thing, and
Oh yeah,
I'm 100% on board.
or even just like I don't know, like make him at show any happiness, because I'm like also that was like the first Batman we'd seen to actually have a Robin, and I'm like I want
Yeah,
Robin. I want
but
Robin more than any of these people. Like
but not like the weird like giggly cracking jokes Batman from Justice League.
yeah,
We don't want the Joss Whedon Batman.
Joss Whedon is kind of on his own now these days.
Yeah, nobody likes him anymore. He's
I'm like
over,
I
dude.
was like I like Avengers 1, and everyone's like no you don't. I'm like
No.
okay. Like, I'm like I like Avengers 2, and they're like no, and I'm like okay
No,
sorry.
shut up. Yeah.
Like,
Sorry.
I'm like I won't anyways. But that is so funny. Like Robert California is the villain now. Anyway,
True.
but
True.
okay, so I like Cheetah. Actually, I have a freaking slab of Cheetah, a comic book press. It is Wonder Woman #9 by George Perez. Just
Heck
like
yeah.
beautiful. It's the first like redone origin of Cheetah with Barbara Minerva, and she
Oh,
looks
nice.
actually like the Cheetah. You know what I mean? She's not really
Yeah.
him, and I'm like, oh, she's just so cool. And
Yeah.
I feel like we could have gotten so much more than we actually got.
Yeah. I feel like part of that, I feel like honestly, part of this is like with Cats coming out last year, like they don't want to have too much of a person in a looking cat CGI suit. I feel like that's part of why that battle took place in like complete darkness.
Oh
Just so
yeah,
they can like,
did you like it? Did you like the cheetah look?
it was fine. It didn't feel weird to me.
Yeah,
It could have looked a little bit more cheetah like. Um,
yeah,
but I didn't. It didn't offend me in any way. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I feel like that's part of the reason that battle was pretty short and took place in complete darkness.
yeah. And frankly, here's my biggest issue with that battle, and I hate being the guy who nitpicks. I'm like, this is kind of these are freaking people who can fly for Christ's sake. Like we don't need
Yeah.
to nitpick. The one thing though, I'm like Diana, you're in a metal suit, and you are drowning and electrocuting the cat lady, and you're in water. I'm like, you're gonna get electrocuted too. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
literally just how electricity works. And
Yeah. Maybe because she's Zeus's daughter. I
I'm
don't know.
like, I don't. You're right. I'm like, that's a good enough reason.
Yeah.
We're like, I read something and I said this. It said this movie would have, if it was a comic, would have been an amazing comic. I think if this was like a
Mm,
12-issue maxi series or something, it would have been a pinnacle Wonder Woman story.
yeah.
But because they tried to make it a movie, because it took the form of film instead,
Yeah.
it just wasn't as good.
was also just too long. It's over 2.5 hours, and it's
All
like,
of that Egypt stuff didn't need to happen.
yeah, oh no way. But it's like again, it's like they have to do something with Pedro Pascal to make him a character in the movie, and it's like there's just not enough time to do both these things. It's like that being said, I really liked him. Like I would love to see more of him.
Maxwell Lord. I'm like,
Yeah,
that he was actually probably my biggest disappointment in the movie.
really.
Yeah. Because Maxwell Lord is like, frankly, he's kind of scary.
Oh, for sure. Like he's like, yeah, he's an amazing character.
For my comic fans, I implore you to go read Countdown to Infinite Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Countdown #1. It is the issue before the big DC event, Infinite Crisis, but it is literally that's when you learn he's scary, because that's when Maxwell Lord kills the Blue Beetle, like Ted Kord Blue Beetle.
Yeah.
It is like, oh, he's bad. And like, he has mind powers, like,
Yeah.
What we don't know, what we didn't see in the movie, which I'm like, give or take.
Yeah.
#1, he's like Lex Luthor, like level wealth, you know what I mean, and power. And then he can like mess with people's minds. Like he has mind control. And so there's a whole arc where it's not in that issue, but it's in another. It's Greg Rucka's Wonder Woman series. He gets Superman. He literally mind controls Superman, and that's what makes Diana kill him.
Yeah.
And she snaps his neck, and I'm like, oh, not that Superman needed to be in this, but in any sort of way, like, he could have mind controlled someone to make Diana be in a really tough position. And it's like, I just felt like he was so one-dimensional. He was unsuccessful. I didn't like that. I didn't get why they did that. Like, I'm like,
I think it started out well for me. Like I feel like his character works in the world of the movie, like, you know, 80s billionaire Donald Trump businessman kind of guy.
Yeah.
But I feel like once they like made him the Stone, spoilers. Spoilers. Once they like made him the Stone, he became like the big bad villain. It just like went off the rails for me. Like I was like, what? Why are you even doing any of this anymore? And it just felt like a very one-dimensional kind of villain performance. But before that, like all the stuff where he's like struggling and like losing all that stuff and like kind of freaking out in front of his son and like that, like, you know, con man putting on a performance. I liked all that. And I wish he would have, you know, I wish there was something more, like something deeper beneath that to like give us like a real motivation of why he's doing any of this, other than just wanting more. To which like the greed is the main villain of the movie, because like Maxwell was like not even the villain really that much. Like, so it's like it's weird. It was just kind of all over the place. But
yeah, I thought that was weird too.
But I love Pedro Pascal, and I think he was really fun as that character for most of the movie.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't know.
Maybe not as Maxwell Lord, but as a character in this movie.
Yes. Yeah, he just kind of let me down. I was like, and I don't think he let me down, but just the writing, the direction of that character, the whole purpose of that character. I was like, I really didn't like the monkey's paw kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was so lazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, that could have been anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The man searching for ultimate power. I'm like, you could have done a completely, entirely different thing. You know? And so I just thought that was a weird choice. Okay, so how'd you feel about the 80s as a character or a setting in this film? Do you think it worked? Do you think it didn't work?
Yeah, so like you know, the references to Richard Donner Superman are not lost on me in this movie. You know, I feel like every other scene in this movie was like some sort of homage to that.
Yeah.
Which is fun. Like I get it, and it's nice to see like Wonder Woman is like that positive character, and kind of like try to embody that spirit of like the Christopher Reeve Superman. It went way over the top for me sometimes, and it felt like the movie was intentionally cheesy at points, but like sometimes it felt like Richard Pryor Superman, like Superman 3, and just way too much, and it kind of just like takes me out of the movie. And like some of the special effects, like, and I get that this was an intentional choice by Patty Jenkins to like, you know, make it seem like this movie was filmed in the 80s. And that like reflects the special effects as well. But like that flying CGI looked horrendous.
Mhm.
And like some of like the fighting and running CGI, like it looked really bad.
So far in DC, frankly, my favorite flying CGI is Man of Steel.
Man, nothing compares. It is
That
so good.
that sequence when he learns how to fly is so good. And then this one, I liked the reason she learned how to fly. I like that she did that. Like she did it for Steve,
Yeah.
you know. And I'm like, I think that's a great reason. I was
Oh,
also
for sure.
can she fly? Because you see her jump into the camera at the end of the first one, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that means she knows how to fly or what.
Yeah, it's very vague on whether she can fly or not.
And so now it's like, oh, she learned how to fly, but also we also got the invisible jet, and I'm like, why do we have to get the invisible jet then? Like, that's just me. That's me in my head. But
Yeah.
honestly, I liked the '80s element. I thought it was going to be set up to be like a setting and not a character, and I think it became a character, which kind of it's almost like they're leaning into the Stranger Things.
Yeah.
We don't need to do that. Like they're doing that, you know. Like I don't need that.
Well, even with Stranger Things, it's like they play on the nostalgia a lot, but like they make up for it with great characters and great stories.
Yeah, their arcs, man. I'm actually on season 3. My chick loves Stranger Things, and so she's got me to watch it.
Heck yeah,
I'm really into it. It's so
great.
good.
It's good.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it did that in the campy way without the redemption. I'm like,
yeah.
So kind of that it was okay. I was like, I didn't mind it, but it's always fun to see the '80s. And frankly, this color scheme for her costume compared to the first one in Justice League and Batman v Superman, 10 times better, 10 times more.
Oh, for sure. It's like it's again, like I feel like her character, like Wonder Woman as a character, costume, everything is like at peak right now. Like it's great, and I love how Patty Jenkins sees and thinks about the character and like portrays her on screen. I just think all the other stuff just doesn't really work very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then let's go into this. I think I got 2 more questions for you.
All right.
What did we like? So what is something maybe your favorite moment of the film or something? Because I'm like, again, and personally, go back to your original comparison, I love Amazing Spider-Man 2. I think I'm not even kidding. That's like my second favorite Spider-Man movie. Like,
really?
Third. It's number 3 in my lineup.
I like it. I mean, I liked it. I loved it when it first came out, and then over time, I was kind of like, this is not as good as I think it is.
Oh, I love
it. This has a lot of issues.
The first 10 minutes of that movie are like my favorite Spider-Mans. They have yet to be beat as my favorite Spider-Man sequence.
And again, it's the same thing. It's like the Spider-Man himself, I think, is great in that movie. Like as a character, that embodiment of him, costume is the best costume that's ever been in a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And like the bits of him actually being Spider-Man just day to day, I think are really good. It's when, the nitty gritty, like the meat and bones of the movie are just no good.
Yeah. So this one, what was I going to say?
I think Wonder Woman is better than Spider-Man 2, by the way. I think.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I like Amazing Spider-Man 2, but it's going away from that point. I think I agree with your assessment of it being that. But did you have a favorite moment? What did you like about it? Because I don't want to get too like I'm like.
I'm trying not to neg the movie. Yeah.
Again, like our Batman 3 Jokers kind of thing. I'm like, it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. You know what I mean?
No, yeah.
I'm like, this is definitely worth the watch, and I think some of the effects are really cool. But like, so what did we like?
Yeah, so if I could give it a rating, like I'd give it, if there was like the worst movie I've ever seen, or like a really great movie I recommend, I'd give it like a middle ground. Like it's a good, it's a fine movie, and it's not going to offend anybody. I wish they would have done more with it, but it's much better than Suicide Squad.
Yeah. It's not the worst DC movie.
No way. And I would definitely watch. I mean, I wouldn't watch it again right now, but I'd probably watch it again in the future. So I like the characters. I liked, the costumes. I liked moments in the film. And that's probably it. I like the characters together. I feel like they had great dynamics, and I think everything was in place for a really great movie. I don't think it was executed in the best way, and I feel like there was things that should be changed or could be tweaked to make it better. Yeah. But I wouldn't call it a bad movie like by any stretch of, I think it's totally fine. And
it's fine. Yeah. I think that for this one, my favorite part was number one, when like her reason to learn how to fly. I'm glad she knows how to fly now.
Yeah.
I'm glad they brought in that armor. I think that armor, no matter what, is the coolest freaking armor in the world. And like they
Yeah.
pulled it off, which was so
Yeah.
neat. Then her riding the lightning, no matter what, is the coolest freaking thing I've ever seen.
It was rad. Like, why
Yeah.
not? Yeah.
Her color schemes were amazing. Again, that is the pinnacle perfect. I think Spider-Man 2 level perfect Wonder Woman costume.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we have not seen better yet.
Yeah.
And then, honestly, I think that's about it for me. But I think the action sequences were cool. Like, the White House fight was kind of cool, and how they did that, and the cheetah fights were okay. That's about it though. It was good though. I think it's worth the watch. Sure, and like the 80s is fun.
Yeah, I think it missed. So like, I think it missed like that big action moment of the movie to kind of like as like a big remembrance point or like a big focal point. Like I think of in the first movie, like the No Man's Land scene.
Yeah, right.
Where she like takes off the robe and she's in the costume for the first time, and like that triumphant moment. I felt like this film didn't have one of those, and it kind of. I feel like if it had something like that, like it would kind of stick with me a little bit more. It's like, or at least maybe forget the parts I didn't like. But and I think the problem, it's like with the first one, the third act wasn't great, but I don't remember that all the time when I think back to the movie. I think about, that No Man's Land scene, or, when they're all hanging out in that town after they save it and stuff like that. Like, there's really good moments that I like a lot. I felt like this film didn't have a moment like that for me where I was like, wow, that is Wonder Woman right there. Like, that is incredible. I think that mall scene was pretty good, but it was really early in the film and it wasn't very long, and it didn't feel like it didn't have that same kind of energy as the first movie. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like if it had a moment like that, I would be more forgiving to it, but it's like the film was encouraging me to remember the things I don't like about it more, I think.
Yeah. I'm like there. I'd agree with that assessment. And my last question for you is, what would you rate this movie out of 10?
I give it a solid 6.5 out of 10. Maybe a 7 on a good day. Maybe a 6.5.
Yeah. I think honestly, I'm right there with you. I think I'm probably closer to just a 6. I think 6.2 is my rating for it. I went in with high hopes. That's watchable. It's watchable. It's there. It's in the canon now. It's just kind of, frankly, I just felt bad for it, because when the expectations are that high, and especially when it comes to DC movies, like we don't have as many DC movies they're just so hit or miss, and that's what it just is sad. But there's hope. After Fandom, we have hope for more DC content.
Yeah, well, it's like, so like I'm thinking about it right now, like it kind of reminds me of like the Thor films, in the sense that like the first one was bold, and it was like the best shot that one could probably do for that movie and what that character is, all that stuff, and there's a lot to like about it, and there's things that really aren't perfect about it, and the second one just kind of falls flat. But I feel like the third one, when it takes place in present day and it's like interacting with other DC characters, like I feel like it's on track for a great third movie.
Yeah,
hopefully.
I think so too. I think so. Yeah. I totally agree.
Because I feel like Wonder Woman needs to be in this present world of the DC universe, like, interact with other characters, have some crossovers in her movie, go on like a modern adventure and do something like kind of like Thor Ragnarok. I feel like that could not be just like Thor Ragnarok, like this.
But
Disney
we're talking about
comedy.
What it did for Thor.
Yeah, what it did for Thor. I feel like the third movie, I feel like we're on track for like a great, final Wonder Woman movie for this trilogy.
I think I agree with you. So thank you so much, Jack, for coming on the Cameron Reads Comics pod.
Thanks for having me.
We will have you back again soon.
Yeah.
For my listeners, remember to go leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Also, go check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and now the brand new Cameron Reads Comics YouTube channel.
Dang.
There should be really, really, really cool things up there by this point. So, go check that out. Jack, thank you again for hanging out. Of course. We love hanging out with you, and we will see you again.
I'm waiting outside your house until you text me every day. So
Alrighty. Well, I
yeah,
didn't know that was you.
you should change your underwear. It's been a few days. They probably smell horrible at this point.
That hurts me that you know that. Anyways, thank you so much, Jack. We appreciate seeing you. We love you. We'll talk to you later.
Love you, man. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.